Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Faith and Fandom Feedback Friday podcast. Hope you're all doing well. Coming to you from this middle of January Friday. And I don't know about y'all, but 2026 has already been a year in its short span of existence. But I hope you're doing well. Not just well, but I hope you're thriving. And if thriving is too much to hope for, I hope you're moderately thriving, but thriving would be great. But yeah, hope you're doing good. Uh, we got plenty of news to jump into, so we're gonna get started in just a second, but hope you're doing good. If you're watching this on Facebook, you can always head over to our podcast to listen to it. If you're watching this on Instagram, you can head over to Facebook or YouTube or our podcast to follow up on this later. But yeah, hope you're doing good. Let's kick right off into it. Oh, President Trump has stated that he will deny Diddy's pardon. That P. Diddy, Sean Puffy Combs, Puff Daddy, wrote a handwritten letter to President Trump requesting a pardon from his prison sentencing, and Trump has stated that he will deny that after considering his request. So it looks like, in the words of P. Diddy, we ain't going nowhere because he's going to be in jail for a few years. Propaganda and dropped a new song last Friday called Gas You Up. So if you're a fan of Propaganda and general poetic hip hop commentary on all the things going wrong in the world, you can check out that. Tater tots have been recalled in more than 26 states. So say a remembrance of sadness for Napoleon Dynamite because McCain Foods has recalled 39,000 cases of frozen tater tots in 26 states due to plastic fragments being found in their product. Um, and if you guess the appropriate number of tater tots in 39,000 cases of tater tots, you win a free bag of recalled tater tots. Lana Del Rey went on record for the gospel this week, which is a fun vibe. She says that she wants people to know that Jesus Christ is King. She doesn't care about the fame. She doesn't care about the money. She just cares about the truth, which is something you don't hear many artists say, let alone not stereotypically Christian artists. Uh, yeah, I'm gonna skip that one. That's enough bad news for a while. Um, Amy Poehler won a Golden Globe. Tristan, good morning, man. Amy Poehler won a Golden Globe for the first ever Golden Globe for Best Podcast for her podcast Good Hang. So congratulations, Amy Poehler. And guys, where were you at? I meant there's obviously stiff competition, but you could have hooked a brother up. But no, there's a lot of great people nominated for the Golden Globe podcast. So it's cool to see that Amy won. She did a good job this year with her stuff. Paramount is suing Warner Brothers uh for more financial disclosure of the Netflix deal. Paramount is unhappy that they did not win the deal for Warner Brothers versus Netflix. Good morning, Jarrett. Um, Paramount is therefore suing because they want more financial disclosure and they're unhappy about the amount of financial disclosure that has gone on thus far. But either way, Paramount has not stopped swinging on this one. If in my area there is Smithfield chicken. You might be familiar with Smithfield chicken. There's a plant not far from me, in Tar Heel, North Carolina. It's about 15 to 20 minutes. A worker was found dead, uh, at his post in the Smithfield chicken plant this week. Not many details have emerged publicly. Uh, a volcano has been erupting in Hawaii's Kilauea Kilauea volcano. A volcanic a lava eruption has been going on, which is just crazy because last week I was just commenting on the fact that where there was snow in Hawaii, and now there's a lava like river going down it. So, like, it's been a crazy week in the 50th state, or is it the 49th state? I don't actually know. You can tell me. Uh, for literally, as they're stating, unknown reasons, the Fayetteville Martin Luther King parade has been postponed. Um, and it's the second year in a row it's faced a delay, but they're stating that reasons are unclear why, but it is being postponed. Um, Good morning, Kelly. WWE and ESPN are being sued over putting premium live events behind paywalls. Um, People subscribers to ESPN that already had ESPN don't feel like it's fair that they should have to pay an extra fee for ESPN level just to be able to get WWE. For instance, if you have the Disney plus Hulu plus ESPN bundle, you should have gotten the WWE PLEs for free and not had to pay more. So there's a suit being currently filed against ESPN and WWE for that process. Uh, Crooner vocalist Leve, who's one of my daughter's favorite musicians, uh, was had a case of mistaken identity this week at the Golden Globes. She's a Grammy winner. She's out selling arenas and all these things, but I would have not heard of her if it wasn't for my daughter. But at the Golden Globes, as she walked the red carpet, um, people kept screaming at her, "Megan, turn your head. Megan, look over your shoulder. Megan." And she eventually had to literally like turn and face all these people and say, "I'm not Megan," which is pretty hardcore thing to be big enough to be at the Golden Globes, but still be not renowned enough for people not to call you the wrong name. So that was fun. Uh, Miles Morales now has a new superhero name in the Marvel Universe, and it's probably, I hope it doesn't stick, honestly. Um, yeah, I don't know. For ever since Miles Morales has hit the scene as Spider-Man, like there's been a weird tension of what exactly do you call him to differentiate. It was easy for a while because he premiered in the Ultimate Universe, so you could refer to him as that. But now, officially, and with a grossly yellow suit in the image that I saw, his webbing was yellow. Um, Miles' Spider-Man name is now officially Spin. Yes. So he is not Spider-Man. He's not the other Spider-Man. His name is Spin. That's gross. Okie dokie. Uh, Brandon Lake led worship this week on Good Morning America and made the joke while being introduced that he and Maury Povich have the same job, which is to tell people who the father is. Um, which is if you're old enough to know Maury references and all those paternity test things, it was probably a dated joke, but it was a cute way of being gospel adjacent there. Lincoln Park has officially been chosen for the theme for the 2026 Royal Rumble. Spin says, yeah, nah. Now what would be great is if he then becomes like a Doc Ock or a Doctor Strange, and then he could be Spin Doctor. And I would take that one. Hey, Megan. I need to give to Zoe's calendar thing, by the way. Thank you for popping over and reminding me of that. Colleen Hoover, the author of It Ends With Us and Verity and all the other books that are popular among folk, has announced that she is in the process of a cancer treatment. She has been diagnosed and she's been being treated for cancer currently at this time. President Trump following a visit from the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, has announced plans for a $7 billion Saudi Arabia project, including mansions where winners reside. Um, yeah, that's a whole conversation. Um, yeah. Going on. There was a court ruling in the Ninth Circuit Court that confirmed that religious organizations can hire specifically based on somebody's faith, which sounds like a kind of a no-brainer, but it was being taken to court. And so to be able to say that a Christian ministry can reserve the right to only hire Christians and Christians of, as some would say, a certain caliber, depending on where their faith is. And there was a argument that was taking place over a Union Gospel mission as they were running a homeless ministry. Catherine Cole, there's a better way to use the money. Yeah, $7 billion especially. Like I don't know that I have an amount where I could say here's the right amount, but $7 billion isn't the number. But there was a Christian homeless mission that was being run, and uh someone sued them or took them to court over the fact that they only wanted to hire Christians to run the homeless mission. And it went back and forth between the Alliance for Defending Freedom and yeah, but the Ninth Circuit has officially stated that they can use basis of faith for a ministry hiring even in non-ministerial roles. So again, that feels like something that's a no-brainer, but it's official now. The FDA has upgraded a national cheese recall to the highest danger level possible, to the point where the FDA is saying if you have cheese, throw it out, which is just one of the saddest headlines I've ever seen. But the FDA is saying if you've got cheese, you need to throw it away if you because there's a good chance it could be contaminated with listeria. I am always partial and prone to type of those type of discussions. Listeria took my dad out in most ways, and so be cautious. The cheese isn't worth it. Another phrase I didn't think I'd say. The most recent Law and Order SVU episode will be canceled and not shown because one of the stars of the episode from season 27 has been charged with sexual conduct with a minor and child abuse. Um, Timothy Busfield, who you would know from more stuff in the 80s and 90s, has been charged with those things. He was going to be starring in an episode of SVU called Corrosive. And that. Now, here's the thing. I'm just going to say this. If you have that type of stuff, um, Tristan says love is she's definitely not in stereo though. Yeah. If you know that you've got those type of skeletons in your closet, why are you going to go on a show about that? That just seems real bold. Like real bold. Like I don't understand your audacity if that's how you're swinging. But yeah, they were the Timothy Busfield was originally set out where he was not hidden, but he was not available to be questioned by the police, but he has since turned himself in. So, yeah. If you are a fan of Sons of Anarchy, uh, then you're still not okay. Uh, if you're probably still not okay from the death of Opie from Sons of Anarchy. And hold up, Catherine Cole just sent me. Also, another news. Oh, there's a baby Cole. Awesome. So the Coles have another baby. That's awesome. I didn't know that. Congratulations. If you're a fan of Sons of Anarchy, then you are probably still not okay from Opie's death. He said he played on Little House. His wife played on Little House. Opie. That's fun. He also played in what was the TV show about Psycho Bates Motel? Yeah, he was on that too. Either way, Ryan Hurst, who played Opie on Sons of Anarchy, will be the live action version of Kratos, God of War, and the upcoming series based on the video game franchise God of War coming to Prime Video. So Ryan Hurst, too, which by the way, in the God of War franchise, he played Thor. Um, Opie will now be playing Kratos. He almost is seemingly almost retired from acting, but now he's swinging back in, coming full force, and he's gonna have to get pretty jacked. So, oh, sorry, John said the other guy from SVU. Got it. Timothy, yeah, got it. But yeah, Opie will be Kratos in the God of War show. J. Cole will be dropping his next album, The Fall Off, on February 6th. If you are a resident of my region, J. Cole is your local rapper. But he will be dropping The Fall Off on February 6th in a weird political and social and slash entertainment scenario that happened this week. Linda McMahon, who has taken no less than three Stone Cold Stunners, the Secretary of Education, dropped by Jack Britt School in Hope Mills slash Fayetteville, North Carolina, which is 20 minutes from me, as a part of a school visit. Now, the Secretary of Education dropping by a school isn't necessarily big news. But the way it was handled and what went down with it has made it a little bit more noteworthy in the sense that it was portrayed from all reports that the children were told about the event, but they were also told not to let their parents know, is some of the reports going around. Even to the point where one of our senators didn't know that it was happening. And after the visit took place, it was revealed also that it was part of a combined effort with Turning Point USA, which upset parents and caused serious concerns that violence could ensue if it was known that this was happening. So there's a lot of discussion and arguments happening now after the fact, but either way, Linda McMahon showed up at a Fayetteville school recently. Um, And parents have, or one of the school board members says, I find it deeply concerning that my child was instructed not to inform me, their parent, that the U.S. Secretary of Education would be visiting their school. Um, and this is one of the board members for Cumberland County. It says, I do not believe it appropriate for students to be told they cannot share information with parents about visitors to their school. If a visitor presents a legitimate security concern, then this raises serious question about why this visit is being allowed during school hours at all, uh, was part of the commentary. There's more from one of our senators later. Um, ABC's The Rookie is being moved to a new night. Three episodes into season eight, it has been moved to Monday nights at 10 p.m. After American Idol. Now, this is either a good thing or a bad thing because anytime shows start getting moved around during the weeknight on broadcast television, for those of you who still watch broadcast television, it usually means that their fate is uncertain as a series. Now, the fact there have been rookie spinoffs and all this other stuff is happening, it could be not as dramatic as it seems, but it's not a good thing for a network series to be moved during the week. In news, the 21 Pilots concert, more than we ever imagined, will be broadcast in IMAX and theaters on February 25th and 26th, 27th that weekend, with limited IMAX showings on February 25th. Tickets were still available this week, as I saw on Thursday in certain regions, but some people have said it's been harder to get tickets to the movie than to the concert. Either way, if you're a 21 Pilots fan, you can catch me in IMAX on February 25th. Andy Mineo, in a recent podcast, stated that Magic and Bird 2 will be dropping in February and that a tour is coming this fall. Fayetteville, which is again my region, uh, Hope Mills Municipal Park, which is where honestly I would go to walk and get exercise after hours because it's up late. Um, Hope Mills Municipal Park had just recently done a bunch of renovations, including a brand new basketball court. And right after, like within a few days after the basketball court was finished and resurfaced, it was set on fire. A 16-year-old girl was burning what I'm understanding is a ex-boyfriend's personal effects on the basketball court, and she decided to do it on the brand new basketball court, which set over half the basketball court on fire. Um, Hold on a sec. Come on. Go lay down. Um, the basketball court was set on fire, and Mariscal, the sergeant, charged the 16-year-old girl with a felony of burning personal property, which cost over $1,000. Matthew McConaughey has copywritten his catchphrase, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right. That thing is now officially trademarked and copywritten. So you cannot do that. Disneyland will be changing the Star Wars area in its park. Now, this is Disneyland, not Disney World. Disney World is Orlando, Disneyland is LA. Um, where the currently almost all of the Star Wars content relates to the sequel trilogy. It will be rebranded, and where half of it will be the sequel trilogy, and a bigger chunk will be split into the original trilogy between Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and The Mandalorian. So you'll get some more of that. HBO is developing a Game of Thrones sequel starring Arya Stark now that the Jon Snow sequel has officially been scrapped. Also in Disney, because of the upcoming Festival of Arts, the 2026 Festival of Arts at Epcot, they're putting giant Lorcana cards up, which means some trading card collector is going to come and try and steal some Lorcana cards, but they're giant Lorcana cards put up all over Disney. Um, Kiefer Sutherland, star of 24 and The Lost Boys and lots of other things, was arrested this week after allegedly assaulting and threatening an Uber driver. Kiefer apparently physically assaulted an Uber driver when he got in, and then threatened him further. And maybe there was a bomb that was going to go off in 24 hours, and he needed that Uber driver to go fast. I don't know. But either way, he assaulted an Uber driver and has been charged with that and is currently being detained. Zoe Saldana has officially become the highest grossing actor of all time, surpassing Scarlett Johansson. Um, Tristan says you might need to get a copy, or I need to get a copy of Poems and Prayers, the Matthew McConaughey book. It's a good read. Okay. Zoe Saldana is the largest grossing actor of all time now. She has officially passed Scarlett Johansson and Samuel L. Jackson to be in the movies that have made the most money of all time, which helps when you're in the Guardians franchise, Avengers, Star Trek, and Avatar. So, yeah, she's in good shape. Uh, Deadpool will be joining Marvel Rivals beginning February 16th. Or sorry, January 16th. There was a $650 Lego set of Pokemon which featured Bulbasaur, Blastoise, and Charizard, and it was coming out for pre-order, and it's already sold out in less than a day. And scalpers are already doubling the price for them, so I hope you really weren't excited about this. Val Applewhite, who is an NC state senator, commented on the Linda McMahon situation. Um, Saying that they weren't told that it was happening. That the visit was billed as a civics history tour, co-sponsored by Turning Point USA. Um, that it was shrouded in secrecy and parents weren't told because of security concerns. That the senator has been told previously of visits from the president, and any other distinguished visitors, but they chose to disclose this, and as a senator, they're not happy. 31 people have been injured, or sorry, 31 people died and dozens were injured after a construction crane collapsed onto a moving passenger train in Thailand. That's a terrifying scenario. Um, there's been a lot of unrest and cause for concern over the past week since the shooting of Renee Brown. Lots of protests have popped up over the country, and more violence has ensued in those protests. One protester in Santa Ana, California, was shot in the eye by a non-lethal round and will lose that eye and be blinded in that eye permanently. And some of the ICE agents were carrying uh, weapons that looked like paintball guns, carrying non-lethal rounds. And this one took out one man's eye, and then he was dragged away by his neck to be taken off camera, as because he was bleeding profusely in front of people. Um, it's not great, guys. And on every side, not great. And again, we can and should and need to do better. And that goes for everything. Like we just need to be better. Crumble Cookies has announced that they are testing donuts, so you'll be able to get donuts at Crumble in the near future. Bad Bunny is facing a lawsuit of $16 million from a woman claiming that he used her voice on two of his songs without her consent, which is fueling the discussion for not having him at the Super Bowl amongst folks, but I don't think that's going to change anything. If you're aware of our area, or this was national news, so or worldwide news in some cases, Micah Miller, the ex-wife of a pastor, John Paul Miller, um, who there's an air quotes there, um, who took her life by suicide in uh, my area at Princess Anne Park in near Lumberton. Um, it had been a lot of tumultuous stuff had been said about John Paul Miller in the time that's followed. He was arrested a few weeks back under grounds that his cyber stalking led to his wife's death. And federal prosecutors stated that because for almost 2 years he posted a nude photo of her, he placed trackers on her car, he interfered with her finances, and would call her more than 50 times a day at times. He pleaded this not guilty this week to cyber stalking her um, in this indictment. Um, I don't know how much they're going to be able to change anything with that, but he pleaded not guilty. Uh, The comedy and culture and Christian communities have been ablaze with the fact that Drewski, the comedian who just last year got into a lot of heat for white facing a NASCAR person, um, did a sketch this week, mocking slash uh, casting shade and laughs towards megachurch pastors and megachurches in general. which has caused a lot of people to make commentary videos of here's my response to the Drewski video and things like that. Um, y'all, we don't do everything right, and there is a lot of stuff that is comedic, but it also can negatively impact people who are actually out there sacrificing everything to make it in ministry. Because listen, half of my pastoral staff doesn't get paid. Every one of my pastoral staff has another job, and none of us like we're check to check as a church. And it's not every church is like that, but there's a lot of discussion going on, and if you've got thoughts, you feel free to share them. But yeah, it's definitely drawing heat from a lot of sides. Um, it's been stated this past week that four Christians were murdered in Nigeria on Monday by a group calling themselves the Fulani herdsmen, and nine others were murdered by the same group of Fulani herdsmen from between January 5th to January 6th. This is part of the ongoing slaughter of Christians in the region of Nigeria, and that stating that killings are happening almost daily. There is debate um, after statistics from a organization called Worldometer released that abortion is the leading cause of death for 7 years straight. And the debate that followed is that people are saying that abortion isn't death, and they're those discussions. But according to this organization that tracks uh, causes of death, abortion has been the highest cause of death for the past 7 years. A I've never heard of this until I saw it in the news, but there's a group or a business or show or something. I gotta do some more research on this, but also really didn't want to. Blessings in No Time was a reality couple that that promised godly all black gifting community is how it was labeled. Where it was basically God's going to bless this certain community. But Marlon and LaShonda Moore face decades in prison after a federal jury found that they ran a $25 million pyramid scheme that exploited cultural trusts of the black community and the Christian community, and devastated dozens of people's finances. So yeah, it's looking rough for them. Um, a heated debate erupted on the Congress floor on Wednesday when a medical doctor refused to answer the question whether men could get pregnant. It was a 5-minute discussion. It's all on video and stuff. You can go check it out. But the argument happened between Republican Senator Josh Hawley from Missouri and Nisha Verma, the doctor, on the floor. But when the question was asked, could men get pregnant? They it was a whole argument, and that's a thing. Yeah. Uh, Apparently, Grok has turned off its image generator after outrage over pics have been showing up on stuff. So that's been a whole tumultuous thing. A theater goer caused a borderline riot on Broadway this week during the intermission of a show of Mamma Mia because he was upset that these women were talking behind him during Mamma Mia and singing along with the show. And he went on for almost the entire 15-minute intermission to berate the ladies who were talking during his Broadway play. Honestly, that would annoy me too, but still, I don't know if I would stand up and um yeah. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, I'm gonna say it wrong, has accused protesters of acting on behalf of the U.S. and President Trump, and so he's turned off the Wi-Fi. Um, because he feels like the news is being weaponized. There's a new thought. Um, Australia, and I don't know if you've got some insight on this, Chris or Tristan. Uh, Australia's Victoria State was suffering from a large fire as several bushfires that razed homes and cut power to tens of thousands of uh, people in the bushland. The blazes went along most of midweek and covered roughly 741,000 acres of bushland. Um, that 10 major fires were still burning statewide. So that's a lot of fire. Um, there was a walkout of more than 15,000 New York City nurses in protest, which that's a scary thought to me. The thought that there are 15,000 nurses in one place, but also that they walked out. So that's a rough thing with it. Um, the United States has frozen uh, immigration visas for more than 75 countries, including Russia and Iran. And again, I don't think most Americans can name 75 countries, but we've frozen those visas. China has made an application worldwide to be able to launch more than 200,000 satellites. Yeah, that definitely doesn't sound like a start of a Terminator movie. Um, a police officer was unhappy and eventually led to the firing of two Starbucks employees after he received a coffee in Norwalk. It's about a city 17 miles south of Los Angeles, where he drove through in his police vehicle and they drew a pig on his cup. And uh, yeah, the two Starbucks employees responsible were fired. That could that be all the news? Is that it? That might be it. Yeah, I think that's it. Crazy. All right, well, that's our news for the morning. Feel like that went by pretty fast. Uh, Tristan says Victoria is on the other side of this country. You're not sure about it? Okay. Listen, Australia just seems small, like on a map, so I don't know how big things are. Um, let's go ahead and do our roll for initiative Bible reading. ASMR, some dice. Hope nobody steps on that. All right, let's rock, paper, scissors for see what we're reading. All right, so Fist is Old Testament. Uh, I should always say scissors, but I always say fist. Scissors, I always say, I should say rock instead of fist. Scissors is New Testament, and then paper is whole Bible. We got Old Testament. It feels like an Old Testament week. All right, we got Old Testament, and now we need to roll two D20s and take one away. So let's go with this guy and this guy. All right, so we're going to roll two D20s and subtract one. Oh, we're going early Old Testament too. That is 8 and 6. That is 14. So we're going to end up in the 13th book of the Old Testament. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Chronicles, First Chronicles. Um, if Western Australia was California, Victoria would be Florida. That's crazy. Okay. Duly noted. Duly noted. It's far, far. Like 20 some hour drive far. Got it. All right. First Chronicles. There's a lot of chapters in Chronicles. Holy cow. All right. First Chronicles, there's 29 chapters in Chronicles, so let's roll a D20 and a D10, and we'll subtract one. Uh, do. Need a D10. There we go. Cool. We're gonna see which book of First Chronicles we're reading. That is a 10. That is a 20. We rolled a nat 20 on our Bible reading this morning. Way to go. But so we'll subtract one, so that'd be 29. So we're going all the way to the end of First Chronicles. It's kind of a dope roll for that. All right, so we're going to the end of First Chronicles, chapter 29, which is going to include gifts for building the temple, David's prayer. So at least we get David. We get a OG homie in here. And we get David's death, which is what I saw in there. So we're going to go ahead and mark on our reading thing. First Chronicles 29. We're going to pull out our handy dandy Faith and Fandom devotional journal. Go over to the Bible study section. Word. And that will be First Chronicles, chapter 29. The date is 116, which, by the way, happy Reach Records Day, 116 Day to those who celebrate. All right, let's jump into it. Um, then King David said to the whole assembly, my son Solomon, the one whom God has chosen, is young and inexperienced. That's for sure. The task is great because the palatial structure is not for man, but for the Lord God. With all my resources I have provided for the temple of my God, gold for the work, gold for the gold work, silver for the silver, bronze for the bronze, iron for the iron, and wood for the wood, as well as onyx for the settings, turquoise, stones of various colors, and all kinds of fine stone and marble, all these in large quantities. Besides, in my devotion to the temple of my God, I now give my personal treasure of gold and silver for the temple of my God over above and everything I have provided for this holy temple. 3,000 talents of gold, gold of offer, 7,000 talents of refined silver for the overlaying of the walls of the buildings, for the gold work, and now the silver work, and now for all the work to be done by the craftsmen. Now who is willing to consecrate themselves for the Lord today? That's a great question slash line all on its own. Now, who is willing to consecrate themselves for the Lord today? Then the leaders of the families, the officers of the tribes of Israel, the commanders of thousands of commanders, commander of thousands and the commanders of hundreds, and the officials in charge of the king's work gave willingly. They gave towards the work of the temple of God 5,000 talents, 10,000 derricks of gold, 10,000 talents of silver, 18,000 talents of bronze, and 100,000 talents of iron. Anyone who had precious stones gave them to the treasury, to the temple of the Lord, the custody of Jehiel the Gershonite. The people rejoiced at the willing responses of their leaders. That's a line. People rejoiced at their willing response to their leaders, for they had given freely and wholeheartedly to the Lord. King David also rejoiced greatly. David praised the Lord in the presence of the whole assembly, saying, Praise be to you, Lord, the God of our father Israel, from everlasting to everlasting. Yours, Lord, is the greatness and the power and the glory and the majesty and splendor, for everything in heaven and on earth is yours, is the king. For everything is yours, Lord, is the kingdom. You are exalted over all. Just a great, straight praise right there. Wealth and honor come from you. You are the ruler of all things. In your hands are strength and power to exalt and give strength to all. Now, our God, we give thanks to you and praise your glorious name. But who am I and who are my people that we should be able to give as generously as this? Everything comes from you, and we have given you only what comes from your hand. We are foreigners and strangers in your sight, as were all our ancestors. Our days on earth are like shadow without hope. That's a great line. We are foreigners and strangers in your sight, as we all our ancestors, like a shadow without hope. Lord our God, all this abundance, all that we have provided for your building, you a temple for your holy name, comes from your hand. All of it belongs to you. I know, my God, that you test the heart and are pleased with integrity. That's a great line. I know, my God, that you test the heart and are pleased with integrity. All these things I have given willingly and with honest intent. I now, willing intent. And now I have seen with joy how willing your people give who are here have given to you. Lord God our Father, Lord the God of our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, keep the desires and thoughts in the heart, keep these desires and thoughts in the hearts of your people forever, and keep their hearts loyal to you. That's a great prayer. Keep these desires and thoughts in the hearts of your people forever, and keep their hearts loyal to you. And give my son Solomon the wholehearted devotion to keep your commands, statutes, and decrees, to do everything to build the palatial structure for which I have decreed, provided. I don't know that that prayer got answered because I don't know how much wholehearted devotion Solomon rocked with. Um, then David said to the whole assembly, Praise the Lord your God. So they all praised the Lord, God of their fathers. They bowed and prostrating themselves before the Lord and the king. The next day they made sacrifices to the Lord and presented burnt offerings to him, 1,000 bulls, 1,000 rams. Which, by the way, just thinking of the logistics, do you understand how much like meat and mass 1,000 bulls would take up? That's just a lot. 1,000 lambs together with their drink offerings and sacrifices in abundance for all Israel. They ate and drank with great joy in the presence of the Lord that day. Then they acknowledged Solomon, son of David, as king a second time, anointing him before the Lord to the ruler of Zadok to the priest. So Solomon sat on the throne, the Lord king in its place, as his father David. He prospered, and all of Israel obeyed him. All the officers and warriors, as well as King David's sons, pledged their submissions to King Solomon. The Lord highly exalted Solomon in the sight of all of Israel and bestowed on him royal splendor such as no king of Israel had ever had before. Okay, for the record, there's only three kings of Israel at this point, so that's not a high track record. David, son of Jesse, was king over all Israel. He ruled over Israel for 40 years, 7 in Hebron and 33 in Jerusalem. He died at a good old age. That's a great Bible phrase. He died at a good old age, and having enjoyed long life, wealth, and honor. His son Solomon succeeded him as king. As for the events of King David's reign from the beginning to end, they are written in the records of Samuel the seer, the records of Nathan the prophet, The records of Gad the seer, together with the details of his reign and power and circumstances that surrounded him and Israel and the kingdoms of all the other lands. All right, let's do our summary. All right, so main passage focus is the establishing of the temple, the generosity of God's people, and the passing of the torch to Solomon, and just God's goodness in general. And let's see on who wrote it. Um, there's not a specific writer that is listed with this, although it is listed that Ezra might be part of the compiler of it. Um, it's post-exile, which puts it somewhere between 450 to 450 to 400 BC. Um, so noted that. Who wrote it? Unknown, but also Ezra. Who was it written to? The Jewish people at that time. Why was it written? It was history. When was it written? 450 to 400 BC. Jerusalem. Symbolism presence. Um, one of the things that the idea of being strangers. David also talks about shadows. And I think the temple itself has a lot of symbolism. Verses that stood out. I really like 17. I know, my God, that you test the heart and are pleased with integrity. All these things I have given willingly and honest intent, and I have now seen with joy how willing your people here has given to you. I just really love that. I know that you are pleased with integrity, that you test the heart. So let's go 17. Also, really like verse 15. We are foreigners and strangers in your sight, as were all our ancestors. Our days on earth are like a shadow without hope. Yeah, verse 15. What can I learn from this? A, be faithful. That Solomon had the best start possible. God's people were generous in that time. And that David finished well, even if he stumbled along the way. Um, how can I apply this? A, be faithful. Be generous. Be integritous, which is a word that will show up as a not a word in any spell check, but I heard some band call Switchfoot the most integritous people they've ever worked with, and I've always loved it since then. Um, and finish well. So anything hard to understand? Not really. pop culture parallel that reflects this passage. Um, Specifically, not just the passage, but the whole chunk dealing with David de Solomon. You can honestly look at it like the passing down of a torch. Potentially, Steve giving Sam the shield was one that popped into mind. Uh, Memeable verse for the passage. Um, I don't know if anything jumped out straight memeable. Yeah, I honestly don't have one for this one, which is fine. Everything doesn't have to have one. Um, what song would be the best song for the soundtrack? Off the top of my head, without more forethought, I would go with Silver and Gold by Ren Collective, which is no big surprise. Yeah, that's it. So, thanks for taking time to hang out with us and read this morning, to check out some news, a few things just to let you know about. Um, I did have a surgical consult on Monday, and I understand the depths of my spinal damage more than I did a week ago. And how like imminent I really do need to get this handled. But I'm still at a place where my insurance company is only willing to cover a portion of the necessary surgery. So my surgeon is fighting to get the insurance company to help me get the necessary surgery. So there's a thing. Um, I'm considering making a post showing the damage and stuff, but I haven't done it yet, so we'll see how that goes. Um, yeah. My first Faith and Fandom event will be on February 13th through the 16th at the CCYC Youth Conference, which will be in Greensboro, North Carolina. Um, Also another Faith and Fandom adjacent folk, um, Justin, who does the Green Ranger stuff, is going to be performing at that, and we'll have a panel too. So there's going to be kind of a lot of Faith and Fandom adjacent stuff there. Um, and then the first actual proper con of the year I'll be at that I know of will be Captain's Comics Expo, February 21st and 22nd. Um, those are coming up. Uh, Stickers for the sticker folks got mailed out this week. So if you're on the sticker level of stuff, those got mailed out. Um, Books, folks. If you listen to this, David Brooks, I need you to hit me up so I can get you some books and other folks too. But I got shirts reordered. I got books uh filled in. The only thing I got to restock is stickers, and we'll be set for the con season as things go. I'm going to be, depending on what can happen with surgery. Um, I'm currently, and the plans of men and how that goes. I'm currently planning that if I can get my surgery approved, to have my surgery for my spine on like March 31st, so that I can get through GalaxyCon Richmond, and then have and then I would take off cons from April and May, so that I can be moderately healthy and be able to actually function again, uh, for con season in like June to hit Heroes and all the big ones for the summer. I've already turned down one con in May, which made me sad, but the reality is I'm just trying to make good life choices here and survive the rest of the year. Um, but that's kind of where things are. Uh, I'll know more once my surgeon lets me know, but he may not get a response back from the insurance company for a while. But that's the thing. I am approved and tables purchased for Heroes Con and for Galaxy Con, Raleigh and Richmond. Geek Church hasn't been approved for Richmond yet. Um, and it's not available to check for Raleigh yet. Uh, but yeah, I am 45% of the way through formatting bite size. Todd says he's going to do a Mosaic fan art con circuit. That Mosaic fan art is going to do a 1 to 2 year. Going to do the Mosaic fan art con circuit. Nice. Oh, you're going to do a 1 to 2 year circuit, Todd. That's cool. Um, that's it. That's basically all the things for the day. I think I showed you all the new stuff. I may have made a new sticker since. Yeah, I think I showed you everything. I want to take a moment before we go to thank our Patreon supporters. Jessica Luttrell from Cosplay for Christ, Jackie Craft Cosplay, um, Kelly Townsend, Alan Wallace, Fab Quack, Rivka and Tristan Birch, Dorothy Martin Winston, Michelle Stewart, Miss Lynn Turner. See you next month. David Brooks, Jeff Weimer, Colin Sproles, Jamie Montgomery, the Coleman family, Jonathan Herman, Ron Petit, Ron Petit, Gear Saber Cosplay, Scott Ward, Alicia Glenn, Jay Sheed, Jason Crutchfield, Mike Perna, Todd Turner, John Jacobs, Zach Harris, Caleb Grimm, Jeanette Skaggs, Jason Bullock, Christina Ray, Sarah Lewis, Patrick Gale, Rebecca Godlove, and Adam Davis. Thank you all for the incredible support you've given, help making all that we do possible. And I cleaned off my desk. I don't know where my little card went. I had my thing. Uh, but First John 3:2, does it say goodbye? Or Third John verse 2. Dear friend, I pray that you may enjoy good health and that all may go well with you, even as your soul is getting along well. Thank y'all for taking the time to listen, to be encouraging, and I hope to see you all at a con real soon.